Oops. Now, everybody, we've come into this area because this is where he was this morning. Young Cinderlei, well, for many of us, our favourite, if not almost favourite leopard from the area. And he was sitting on this termite mound, then he moved off down, sort of into the bush there. These are where the tracks go. So we're going to see if we can't pick him up again around this area sometime this afternoon. A very special treat on the other vehicle today. Tristan has come across from Simbambalai to do a drive here, so it'll be lovely to talk to him. You can ask him all the questions you've ever wanted to about the Anderson male, Salayeshe, and all that stuff that goes on there, because he will be intimately involved with all of that. So that's very good. And if you want to talk to him, or indeed to me, hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter, or questions at wildearth.tv if you're on the email. In the final control, Louise on this Sunday afternoon, and she's being ably assisted by Gerald the Cheesecake Giraffe Kent. Brian is on camera. Brian, talk us through the thumb today.
It's a drooping flower thumb.
A drooping, wilting flower thumb.
Yes.
Is that because it is so dry, Brian?
No.
Oh, why is it wilting?
I'm feeling a little bit under the weather.
Oh, Brian is feeling wilted, everybody, like a precious spring flower that has not had sufficient rest or water. I'm sorry about that, Brian.
Okay.
Oh. Right, let's carry on, see if we can't find Sindaili. To confess that this doesn't look entirely familiar from this morning, but must be, because my tracks are all over the place. So we'll ease our way through here, and what we need to look for is he was definitely on the hunt this morning. So what we need to look out for is possibly a carcass hanging in a tree. That is entirely possible. He could be draped across one of these termite mounds. That's where I'm expecting to find him if he doesn't have a kill with him. But he was heading in this general direction, and we're still on the tracks from where we came this morning. So I'm not sure. This was the termite mound on which we left him finally. We might be lucky, we might not. There will be a bit of noise. It is a very impenetrable strychnos thicket, this. But that's okay. We'll get through it, won't we, Brian? Stoically. Yes. Every termite mound, he's much like his mother, of course. He likes a good termite mound to sit on. Don't we all? Now, while we bash through here, let's head across to Tristan, say hello to him, be very nice to him, please, everybody. He didn't look too nervous, which I think is excellent, so go and ask him some questions, and hopefully I will see you later with Sandile.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Tristan, and I'm very, very excited to be here to take you guys on an afternoon game drive as part of an interview process. Now, I'm sitting here and you might be wondering why there's a tree all over me. Now, this particular little branch is called a leadwood, and this leadwood brought along because they believe in this area that this little branch signifies the start of new friendships when worn in a pocket. And so this is the idea, is that we are going to start a new friendship by me being on the game drive today. The other reason why I have it is because while being at final control today, I have noticed quite a lot of coughing and spluttering going on, and varying members of the WildEarth team that are not doing so well. So they believe that if you burn this and you inhale the smoke that comes off it, that it is a good ailment, or a good way of fixing the coughing ailment. So I shall take this back later for Jamie to throw on the fireside chat and let her have a little sniff of that to try and get that coughing sorted. Now, we are in this area over here. We are in search of the Nkuhuma pride of lions. So we are busy having a look around, trying to see if we can find out if they've maybe lay up somewhere in the shade, being that it's quite a warm afternoon. It's about 29 degrees, and there's a little cool breeze blowing. I would imagine that they've gone and found some nice shade. So we're busy looking around. Hopefully we will come right and be able to find something in the little shady areas around here. Right. Sorry, Lee, can you just repeat that? To all those viewers that have given me a shout out and welcomed me, thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. And I'm even more excited because if I have a look over my right shoulder here, there lying in front of us is the Nkuhuma Pride. It even looks like there are some of the Birmingham males here with them. I'm so excited. I've been dying to catch up with these little babies. I come from an area that borders Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we are currently based, and this little Nkuhuma Pride often comes across into our area, and for the last few weeks, since they've had the little cubs, we haven't had a chance to get to see them. So I'm incredibly excited to be here and to be able to have my first real glimpse of these little guys. As we were saying just now, you can see that they're all very much relaxed and trying to find some nice shade to be able to wait out the hot part of the day before they'll start to get a little bit active later. There's a little one that's just stood up, coming to have a little look as to see what's going on. First a little itch on the leg there. And isn't that the cutest thing you've ever seen? I'm so excited to see these guys. They are incredibly beautiful little cubs. The area that we've been driving in, we've been seeing the sticks, which some of you may be aware of, are not looking in the greatest condition. So these guys look absolutely incredible. It's very fluffy and super cute. Oh, big yawn now. I'm going to go over and start pestering some of the others. What I might do is just reposition ourselves slightly so we don't have all these branches in the way. So let's just move a little bit quickly. So we're just going to try and edge forward and not disturb them here. So we have a question from Raccoon Pet. She would like to know what is my background. Well, I was born in Johannesburg, here in South Africa, and I lived most of my youth in the city of Johannesburg. I then went to university, also in Johannesburg, and then from there went to go and coach cricket, funny enough, of all things, in Kenya, where I got involved with a wildlife rehabilitation centre, particularly elephants. From there, it was then into the Sabi Sands, and from the Sabi Sands, I've pretty much stayed here the last 7 years. So it has been a nice long ride in the Sabi Sands, and I've got to see a lot of different areas within the Sabi Sands, which has been incredible. As you can see, some of the little ones there, or just one at this stage, is having a little drink from the mother. Now these little cubs are still quite small, and so they will still be suckling from time to time as they start their weaning process onto meat. You will find that during these hot periods in the afternoons, often the mothers are very relaxed, and they will then be lying down and allow the perfect opportunity for the mothers to come in and for the little babies to come in and grab a little drink. And so you'll find that they'll feed quite nicely now in preparation for when the mothers are going to leave later when it gets a bit cooler and start to hunt. So there's a question from Kathy in Tennessee. She would like to know how many particular prides a male coalition can watch over. Now, that is obviously quite a varying amount, given that a male lion will push as far as he possibly can in order to take as much territory as possible. It will also depend on the size of the coalition. Here we are very lucky that we have a coalition of 4 males, and so being that there are 4 of them, they're able to take quite a large area. So it's a difficult question in that they could potentially take over 1, 2 prides, 2 being the prides that the Birminghams have taken over, or they could potentially end up in a situation, if this coalition continues to push their boundaries, where they get 5, 6, 7 prides. It's all really about the amount of pressure that they come across from other lions, and whether or not they're strong enough to then push into a new area and take away the territory from the existing males that are there. You see one of the little ones coming and greeting one of the aunts. So it's quite common to see this little rubbing up. Might even be its mother. Like I say, I haven't seen too much of them, so it's difficult to work out who's who here as to moms and babies. But it's quite common that even if that's not the mother, that the little one will make its way towards the aunt and will begin to rub up on the auntie and just get a little social bond going. Oh, look at those teeth. There we go. Isn't that incredible? I think mom has had enough now of suckling. You can imagine after a while with those little sharp teeth and rough little tongues that after a while it gets a little bit uncomfortable. Also, given that it's quite hot, I'm sure these lions are a little bit kind of temperamental and are probably a little bit irritable. And so little cubs jumping all over mom's tummy and suckling and biting is not going down too well. So you'll find that she might just stand up and go and reposition somewhere in the hope that the cubs won't follow her and will stop the suckling. You can see one little one is very eager. It still wants milk there. Alright guys, so we're going to sit here for a little bit longer and enjoy this beautiful, incredible sighting. In the meantime, you guys can go across to James and see what an update is with Sindile.
Well, my only update is to say that we haven't found Sindile. We drove through the block, looked on every single termite mound, and then Brian, you said to me...
I said to you...
he might be looking for some
shade.
There we are. And then we realized there wasn't much shade there, and this, the great Balanites tree, is the closest shade. And so that is where we have come. There are no tracks of the leopard, of course, and he doesn't seem to be hanging in its leafy boughs, does he? No. No. Naughty fellow. Anyway, we are going to do our best to find him. Ooh, something else through there. There's a slender mongoose, which I'm not going to ask you to film.
I'll try anyways.
Are you? I wouldn't.
It's gone.
It's gone. There was a slender mongoose there. Alright everyone, yeah, we're just going to do a little loop around here and see what we can find. I haven't seen his tracks, so he may well still be in the same block. Anyway, so it goes. Now we also saw many steenbok, many duiker in there, so I wonder if he caught one of them. He was certainly on the trail. He seemed to be very much on the hunt, and as Brian said to me, the last kill he had, he actually hoisted into a tree. And I think his history of his history of not basically being taught anything by his mother left him to do it all on his own, and it's a testament to the amount that leopards learn by instinct alone. His mother, a very occasional hoister of kills. He obviously has done it from instinct. He knows how to do it. He did it with the dog that he caught. He did it with the last big impala that he had. So he's a good hoister, and no one's taught him to do that. And I always think that it's quite an interesting difference between cheetah and leopard, where cheetah are almost certainly trained by their mothers how to kill and sort of coached through the process. Leopards, like your average house cat, they just know, and I think that's rather remarkable. And I know we had some discussion a little while back about Legadima, who's that famous leopard from the Joubert film. And they make quite a lot, I think, in that film of the teaching that either Legadima receives or that she gives to her daughter. And certainly in Sindile's case, he's learnt it all on his own. And very nice that we've got the lions, of course, with Tristan. It's always easier for your first drive to actually have quite a nice sort of sighting to settle in on. I had exactly the same sighting, the Nkuhuma Pride, on my first drive. They were sans cubs at the stage, and there were 7 lionesses when I began. It was before the Birmingham boys moved in. Right, Tristan has had sufficient breather. Let's go back to him, find out how the lions are doing. I'm going to spend a little bit more time over here, and then we'll go and see what else we can find.
Welcome back, everybody. Not too much has changed in the time that we've been away. I believe James is still in the area scratching around for Sindile, and I'm sure he'll come right there in the next little bit. But what we do have is one of the little cubs that's just having a little grooming session. So you can see there it's got its little tongue out, which has got those rough little hooks, and it's just getting rid of any little loose bits of fur or any little parasites that may have crawled onto it during the day. There's a little one stretching in the background, big yawn. Oh, and here it comes over to mom. Oh no, and we've just flopped down. Lost the will to move there, unfortunately. I think, again, a little bit hot for these little ones. This will be their first taste of summer. We've had very nice cool temperatures up to about a week ago, and all of a sudden the temperature has really spiked, and so these little ones will not be quite used to these hot afternoons, and so I can imagine sitting around in these hot days is taking it out of them a little bit, and so there's a lot of flopping around and taking a few steps and falling down again. So Debbie would like to know why there is such a big difference between the Nkuhumas and the sticks, and whether the fact that there are more Nkuhuma females gives them a ability to catch more food and to be able to look after the cubs better. Now, while that may be the case, I don't think so. The biggest difference between the Nkuhumas and the sticks currently is that the sticks have what's called mange. All right, they have been contracted this little mite that lives in their fur, and unfortunately that mite drives them to itch constantly, and they scratch, and they spend too much time scratching that they're not really focusing on what else is going on. They don't suckle as much from mom, as well as the fact that the little mite sucks from their blood and causes them to dehydrate and emaciate very, very quickly. And so that is the main difference. If you have a look at all of the lines that we see here, the females and the little cubs, none of them are showing those little black patches that we see on the sticks females as well as their little cubs. And so that is probably the biggest reason why there's such a big difference between the health. The sticks females, from what I've seen over the last few weeks, they've been quite successful and have caught quite a number of buffalo. So it's nothing to do with the amount of nutrition. It's more just to do with this mange that has unfortunately infected all the little cubs. And the problem with mange is that mange comes from when an animal touches and comes into contact with one another. And as we've seen with these little cubs while we've been with them now, is there's lots of little touching and rubbing up on one another. And so the mange jumps from one to the other. And that's why it has spread so quickly through that pride. We just have a look there, two little ones suckling quite intently, even got their eyes closed. They're so happy with life. Not a bad deal to be a little cub in a successful pride like this. Oh, and we've got a little one that's got a little stick over there. Dave, I don't know if you can see it. Yes. So let the game begin. Now these little ones are obviously teething, and so things like sticks are the best game that there can be. They go and grab the little stick and they'll bite it and chew it, as well as using those paws. And while it looks like all innocent fun now, that is a great way for these little cubs to learn. So as they're going on in life and they're able to start hunting and catching animals, the way that they grip the stick, the way that they bite it, is all going to come in handy later in life. Isn't it just the cutest thing though? So Aaron from New Zealand would like to know what coalition I've spent the most amount of time with. Well, Aaron, that's quite an interesting question. I would imagine currently would probably be the Majingalans would probably be the most. I have spent quite a bit of time with the Birminghams, the Matimbas, the Hilders Rock males when they were still alive, the Charleston males. But I would imagine the Majingalans, they were around when I trained at Singita, as well as in the times that I was here up in Chitwa. They were the dominant coalition in our area, so we used to see them very, very regularly. So I would say that it was the Majingalans, but lately, obviously, we've been seeing the Birminghams quite a bit, so it's been quite nice to get to know them and to be able to spend a bit of time with them. And talking of the Birminghams, we have one that is lying right here in front of us, and he's being a very naughty boy at the moment. He keeps dropping little bombs of gas, which is quite unpleasant. So luckily we don't have a thing as smell-o-vision, because there is a lovely smell emanating from him as we sit here. But he needs to stop that now because it's quite off-putting. Maybe let's go to the cub on the left. So Roger would like to know if I'm aware of any nearby nomadic coalitions. Well, Roger, I don't know of any that are a serious threat at this stage. There are a couple of young males in the prides to our south and our east, southwest, in the Salala pride, as well as in the breakaway Mangane pride. But those males are still with the females, and so no real threat to these guys just yet. Obviously, we have no idea what is sitting in the Kruger National Park at this stage. There could be quite a number of males that are coming in from that side, or from the Timbavati to our north, the Manyeleti Game Reserve. But within the Sabi Sands currently, there is no real young coalitions that could challenge the dominance of the four Birminghams. Even if the three Salala males or the three Mangane males had to come up into this area, it would still be three youngsters against four bigger, stronger males, and I highly doubt that they would really take or provide too much opposition for the Birminghams. Now that is a great news for us, because currently this area that we're in, unfortunately, has gone through quite a number of coalitions in the years, some that have been only around for a very short period of time, and so unfortunately the females haven't had a very successful run of it in producing and giving cubs and growing the prides. And so these guys, being young males, the Birminghams, that have settled in here and there's no real sort of threat from any coalitions around us, is going to make, hopefully, for some very successful litters going forward, which will be great news for the area and great news for the prides that we see. Now there's one little one there that you guys can see is having a field day with a ball of elephant dung. You can imagine that little bit of dung gives way a little bit, and it's quite tacky, so digging those claws in is quite the game. And we've gotten bored of the elephant dung and now onto the tree. So we're going to chew the tree for a while, maybe push the tree away, don't want that, sorry. Not cool. So speaking of trees, we're going to now link back to James. I believe he's showing us his acrobatic skills and has been able to find a tree of his own.
Hello everybody, I've always wanted to climb this tree and we just came to have a look here because it seemed like another good shade tree. It is a false marula tree. In fact it's not, it's a real marula tree, and it's growing on the top of a termite mound here. It certainly looks in many ways like a false marula tree, but I think it's a real one. Is it? Yes, it's a real one. I mustn't doubt myself, you see. Now, I was hoping that I might see the spots and dappled pelage of Sindila, perhaps, at a similar height to that which I find myself now. I have not seen him, nor have we seen his tracks coming out of this block. So I'm not really sure what we're going to do. We'll probably do one more foray through here and then carry on to some other things. I believe there are some elephants at the Jumadam camp, if you wish to look at them. I must now get out of here, of course, and this can be quite intimidating when one is live. Brian, you will save me if I fall, won't you? Yes. because it is Sunday and I don't want to hurt myself, Brian.
Careful, James. Careful.
Oh, thank goodness. How's my audio? Oh, good.
Almost. Double backflip. Ta-da.
Right. Oh, Brian. Look at that.
Oh, wonderful.
That's amazing. There's the Steenbok's head, everybody. Well, it was a Steenbok's head. Isn't that cool? There's actually a great little discovery. So there's the horn, that's the bone obviously. And you can see how much of the horn is actually a keratin sheath. And that keratin sheath, of course, if you look at the buffalo, is eaten by those keratophagous moths. Just wondering if it won't come off. It will, you know. Watch this.
Wonderful, sure.
Huh? How cool is that? So there's a lot of keratin there. But I'll tell you what's interesting, I think, to me, is the size of the brain case. Look in there. That brain case is probably the size of what? A granadilla? Or passion fruit, everybody. What many of you would call a passion fruit. And that's quite big, you know. They say that a lion's brain, for example, is probably about the same size. But if you compare this thing with the size of a lion, I mean, it's about 1/10 the mass, and its brain is relatively quite large. Very nice. And the only other thing to show you here is the different pieces of the skull. And the skull's got a number of different bones in it, and they fuse after birth. They're often not fused when the animal is born. I think in something like this, which is born very precocial, they could well actually be fused already.
Bring it for the tent.
The tent, very good point. Thank you, Brian. I nearly didn't. There we are. Steinbock. Good. Not quite Sindile, but you know. It is Sunday afternoon. Maybe he's resting. You hear that, everyone? Fish eagles, nowhere near water. That's very odd. Oh, there they are. They're up there, Brian.
I've got to see them. Oh, there we go.
There they are. They're probably going towards Sydney's dam, everyone. And they're flying with the wind at their backs. You can see that's why their wings are folded like that. Marvellous. So far away. Isn't that a peaceful shot? That's the quintessential Sunday afternoon shot, that. Birds flying in a perfect azure sky. Very nice. Should we carry on, Brian?
Yes.
Let's carry on. Find a leopard. It's a lovely tree, that. Brian and I were once watching Karula in that tree, and we discovered that Karula, much like Kwatile, doesn't like beatboxing or rap. And indeed she got very cross with us and growled at us when we were beatboxing, so we stopped immediately because she made us afraid. Sean, you're in Secunda and you're wondering what my favourite tree to climb is. My favourite tree to climb doesn't actually exist here. It's something called a Natal mahogany. You right, Brian? Yes. Natal mahogany, and it's a great big tree that grows on the riverbanks, and you'd find it on the banks of the Sand River or the Sabi River, and it kind of needs permanent water. That's why we don't find it here. It's a beautiful big tree, but I mean the trunk looks a little bit like a Balanites tree with those flutes. Okay, we're going to continue our search. Let's go back to Tristan and the Nkuhuma pride.
Welcome back, guys. Hope you enjoyed James's acrobatic skills as he climbed that tree, as well as his anatomy lesson on that skull of that steenbok. Since you've been gone, a few games have started to develop. A couple of the little ones have decided enough with the sticks and trees and elephant dung. It's now time to move on to something with a heartbeat. And they have started to play with one another. We've had tails being pulled, and now we've got paws being bitten, paws in faces. It's all very gentle at this stage, but I'm sure the rough housing is getting harder and harder, and I would imagine somebody is going to squeak soon. We had a few little squeals from one just now when its tail got pulled, and I would imagine that is going to carry on. Now, while we've been sitting here, we've been just looking at the size of this Birmingham's male's his paws. His paws are in fact the same size as these older cubs' head. They are massive, massive, massive. Unfortunately, now he's moved them to an angle that is not very good, but we'll go back to that just now. But it is quite incredible the size of the feet of these big male lions. You don't really get a fair sense of it until you're very close to them like we are now. It's incredibly, incredibly large. Now the females have been fairly restless as well. They've been getting up and down. So Siso in Hammanskraal has quite an interesting question. He has heard that male lions with dark black manes tend to represent a more powerful animal, and if this is true, what would the measure be of power? Now, it's not exactly that a darker mane represents more power. It's just that generally for a male to achieve a dark mane, he would have had to have taken over a territory and been able to fight off and ward off other males to be able to get that, which would have caused the flush of testosterone for this melanin production to happen and the mane to go thicker and darker. And so generally a black mane male or a darker mane male is an animal that has gone through the rigors of being a young nomadic male and has now established himself as a territorially dominant individual. So whether he is more powerful than the other is anyone's guess. There is no measure for that, but it's just more an indication to the other lions that this male has gone through this process and has had his fair share of fights to take over and has therefore grown this mane, and it's an indicator to them that this is a male that has been through the mill and has been able to challenge for dominance. I have seen in my time sometimes the blonde males actually doing okay and taking over pride, but generally the darker males seem to be far more successful. I thought for a second there we were going to have a brave little one that was going to come and investigate the male here, but I think he's thought otherwise and has stopped there and rather kept a little bit of distance. Just love this little cub that's lying with its legs absolutely spread open. Every now and then there's a little paw flick to get rid of the flies around the ears and the eyes, but isn't that look like a very relaxed, chilled little individual? It almost looks like he's gone to the swimming pool and is now having a little lounge. Rather good idea on a day like today. It is a lazy Sunday afternoon after all. Perfect. This cub's got the right idea, that's for sure. So Janet would like to know at what age these lions will lose the spots on their head. Now, obviously it's a dependent thing. I've seen lions that are 3-4 years old that still have spots around the legs area, but the spots on the head typically start to disappear already at around 6 months old. You'll see that the older cubs, the spots are not nearly as pronounced as what you see on the younger cubs here, and slowly but surely they will start to fade. And when these guys start to reach, like I say, about 6-7 months old, those spots on the head are gone, and then when they get to probably about 3-4, the spots are really very, very faded. You'll still see a few on the inside of the legs, but other than that, very little. I've just seen one of the females has gotten up and walked off, and another female has perked her head up here and seems to be looking quite intently. Now I wonder if maybe the other female has just gone to the toilet, or if it's going to be time to get up and do a little bit of moving. It would be quite nice to see if they start to get going, perhaps for a little afternoon drink. It's that time of the day, and in weather like this it's often the case that they will start to move towards water. So let's just have a look and see where this female ambles off to. Looks like she might just go and join the rest of the females that have found themselves a very nice little shady area there behind a fallen over log. Looks like the perfect place. Oh no, she's carrying on. And the other female disappeared in a slightly different direction, and so it'll be interesting to see where they're all going. Hoping that all females will start moving. Oh, there we go. See, we've got the attention of the other two. I wonder if maybe something hasn't joined us. There might be some sort of antelope or something that these guys have now seen, or these ladies have now seen. And maybe we're going to be very lucky and watch these guys maybe go on a hunt. So let's just turn the vehicle around and just see if maybe we can see something. These other little cubs here, I'm sure, are going to go bundling along and follow the moms. And the male shouldn't be too far behind them either. But let's just give those females a follow. So we're just going to make a little turn here just to see what's behind us. Like I say, there might have been something, because the one female kind of popped up and headed off in a direction, and I've seen all the others now watching intently as she's walked, and it's possible maybe that something has rocked up here. Wouldn't it be exciting if something like an antelope or a buffalo has wandered along and has joined these guys? Guys, so while we follow and investigate what's going on and see what we can find here, we're going to link back to James and see what he's up to.
And James is up to exactly the same thing, everybody. And we have not managed to find anything, I'm afraid. One steenbok ran away, a duiker ran away. No Sindile, he didn't run away, he's hiding. Anyway, we'll do our best to continue to stoically find interesting things today here in the wild. I'm looking for the first flushes of spring. Have you seen any, Brian? No. Hello, Cat and Tamba. Very good question. You say, shouldn't he be easy, Sindile that is, to track? Because he has a collar on. Well, yes, in theory, if he had it, I'm not sure if there's actually telemetry in it. I think there's telemetry in it, but we don't have access to any of that stuff. And I quite like it like that. It means he can have some privacy. So I think there are two aspects to that collar, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just quickly have a look at that hornbill, if you don't mind, Brian. It's a grey hornbill on the end of the tree there. He looked like he had something quite tasty to eat. But he doesn't, does he, Brian? No. No, anyway, that's a nice picture of him. So telemetry is that thing where the collar gives out a ping, and if you've got the correct equipment, you can pick up that ping, and the closer the ping is, or the louder the ping is, and the closer together they are, the closer the leopard is. Or the closer the leopard's collar is. So that's the story there. I think there's also then the GPS collar, or the GPS part of the collar, and what that does is give his position every so often. Now, from what I understand, that doesn't always give a reading. So it's set to give readings at various times, but it doesn't always do what it's supposed to. And that's why Gerry Camacho, who has all the data from the collar, doesn't give an update every single day, because there isn't an update every single day. So yes, if we had the telemetry equipment, we could track him using that, but that, I just think that would kind of ruin it slightly. I think it's quite nice that he's able to have his privacy as and when he wants it, and so we'll just track him like we do the normal leopards. The normal leopards. He is a normal leopard. One mustn't One mustn't denormalize him, must one, Brian? No. Everyone is special. And just to remind you, we will be having a fireside chat today at 5:45. That is Central African 5:45. I'm not sure what time that is wherever you are. We're going to be looking at a clip of the Mara, where I was last week for 2 days or so, and we'll look at that quite astonishing sighting of, well, there aren't 5 leopards in the clip, but there were 5 leopards at the sighting when the wild dogs arrived with Jamie. And that's what we'll be looking at in the final control, at least in the fireside chat. And if you wish to ask us questions, I would suggest you send them through now, and Jamie and I will attempt to answer them. It's only 15 minutes or so, and so it's very difficult for us to take the questions and then get to them at the right time. Right, we're just going to make our way around the corner here, and I've pretty much given up on Sindile now. Oh, Joe, you want to know what animal this is? It's a steenbok. There it is. Samuel, the steenbok. There he is. That's his back end. That's his, no, that's his front end, sorry. There's his side profile. Sammy the steenbok, unfortunately he died some time back, and I'm almost certain a leopard killed him, probably hung him in that very tree that I was climbing in earlier on, and devoured him there. I'm going to look quickly with my binoculars through here and see if I haven't spotted some Diley. But I have not. I don't think he's come out of this block. We've checked all around it now and haven't found any tracks at all. But you know how often we've said that, and how often we have not succeeded in finding our quarry. Anyway, let's continue. I know there's some elephants at the waterhole. It is quite warm today. It's almost, well, it's probably almost 30 degrees today, 85 Fahrenheit or so. And so I think we should probably pop around. Ooh, hang on a second. Surely not. Surely not. It's a fallen tree. It is a fallen tree, but I am going to look at it with my binoculars anyway. Just to confirm that it is a fallen tree, yes. Nothing in there. Anyway, on a hot day like this, it's always worth going to just pop around some of the waterholes, see who's come to say hello. Sindile might indeed pop down to a waterhole himself. Hello, baby GNU. Baby GNU, you want to know if the fireside chat will be on Facebook or if it'll be on the stream? It will definitely be on the stream, baby GNU. The Facebook Live fireside chat thing was a little bit of a disaster because it didn't work for all of our viewers, and so we've gone back to the stream. So it will be the normal stream. Right, the lions are still moving. Tristan, our supposedly rookie presenter, has managed to find all the animals, so let's go back to him while the relative veteran hacks about for something.
Welcome back, guys, and thank you, James. From a veteran who's fairly agile at his old age, I'll happily be very happy with my days if I end up in the same condition as you as a veteran. But yes, as we've come back to us, the lions have all seemed to have gone static. We had 2 females that walked away, and they've just come back, and the male began to approach them, and it looked like there might have been a little interaction. But the females have bypassed slightly now and are busy just contact calling slowly to the cubs. So I wonder if they maybe are now just calling them to maybe go look for water. In the background you can see the little cubs bounding along, and hopefully they're going to come right past us here. The other 3 females are stacked in this little thicket to my right hand side here, and so like I say, I'm pretty sure that we're on the move and we're going to hopefully head towards water. Wouldn't it be great just to be able to follow these guys as we go, and see what they get up to. For now the male is completely disinterested. He's found himself shade again and is quite happy there, but let's see what happens here. There's another female that seems to be coming back in this direction. She's off on my right hand side here and is slowly watching and listening to the squeaks and contact calls of the other females. There she comes.
Come on, Jay.
So there we go. You can hear every now and then, I don't know if you guys can pick it up, but there's these little low, soft contact calls. Now the reason why they're not full-blooded roaring is that all they want to do is just call the little cubs that weren't far away and just get them to come to the moms. And so rather than making a huge advertising statement by roaring full tilt, oh look at this, isn't that amazing? The little cubs are going to go greet the male. Oh, and there's a little game happening. Oh, look at that, very brave little cubs. I've seen many a cub get quite disciplined for that, but this is quite a tolerant male, jumping all over him. It's amazing. It's incredible, incredible sighting. Oh, here comes another one. Let's see if we'll get the same. That is incredible. Look at that. Oh, a little bit of love, a little bit of playing. That's incredible. And no aggression from the male whatsoever. Now, I've seen the males often getting quite aggressive with little cubs, and so that's quite a little sighting that we've seen there. And here we go. The whole pride is on its way. Still one female at the back with the stragglers. Looks like the youngest of the cubs, who are being quite naughty and don't really want to come with mom at all. Lots of complaining going along as mom is calling them. I'm sure they don't really want to be walking in this heat, but are being forced to at this stage. And what I'm going to do is just pull slightly forward here where there's a little open gap and we can watch the other 3 come along. Isn't that sound the most amazing thing? When the little cubs call out. Incredible. We're sitting here and we've got cubs calling on both sides of us, moms that are calling. Incredible, incredible just to be sitting amongst this and to listen to what's going on. Such an amazing experience. And we are so glad that all of you are here with us watching. It blows my mind every single time when I think of this concept and how we are sitting here and broadcasting across the world, and how you guys are able to sit with us and enjoy these amazing sounds and amazing sights all the way from Africa and South Africa. Incredible. Dave, I'm just going to move slightly forward. Unfortunately, the little ones are lying just behind this big knob thorn here, so let's move forward slightly. It's a far better view there. So Ashley from Missouri would like to know, is it very strange to be talking to a camera lens instead of people on the back of the vehicle? Well, Ashley, honestly, yes, it is very strange. It takes something, or takes a bit of getting used to, having to look into the center of a camera and getting nothing coming back at you. But essentially the guiding and being able to watch of animals and explain their behavior is still relatively the same as guests. And so it actually doesn't feel too bad when we're talking about it, but when I am now sitting staring at the camera like I am doing now, it is a little bit odd, I will admit. But seem to be okay and seems to be going all right, so for now we are all good. Now that was a very short little lived period of activity from these lions. They seem to all flop down again, which is the way it goes with lions. Unfortunately, they're animals that are not the most energetic during the day, And so when you get bouts of activity, generally it's small little bouts and they move a few meters and then lie back down again. I don't know if you, Dave, if you can just see those birds there. So we've got a little flock of birds flying over. Now these little guys are Rhett's helmet shrikes. So I don't know if any of the birders out there who are keeping bird lists have seen Rhett's helmet shrikes here. They are quite an uncommon one. You don't see them that often. They've seem to have disappeared down onto the other side of this drainage line. Find them very commonly along riverbed areas. They like the big trees. But yes, a nice one for those birders that are with us this afternoon. Oh, big scary vehicle has just chased that little one, unfortunately. Come hide behind mother. Very, very wise choice. So you'll see that little cub there has got its mouth open and is breathing quite heavily. Now you'll find this quite commonly in cats and dogs too. When it is very warm, there's lots and lots of panting and breathing, just to help with the reducing the heat that they build up. Being furry coated animals, you can imagine when the sun's on them it gets quite hot out here, and so that's just their way of cooling down a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that little one. So I'm sure these cubs are very interested to know why Mom came and called them and brought them all the way back. What I suspect has happened is maybe that some of the females, the two initially that left, have possibly just wanted to go to the toilet and have been very ladylike and removed themselves from the area, which caused the other members of the pride to follow along with interest in the hope that maybe there was an opportunity for a meal. And they left the little cubs alone with the male. Now, I think some of the females got a little bit nervous and they promptly came straight back again and called the little ones just to make sure that they were in eyesight and not being left on their own. Even though we've just seen that that male had no interest in being aggressive towards them whatsoever, it's still that maternal instinct that comes into play when the little cubs are by themselves and there is a male around. So Andy would like to know how often males will enter this territory, and the answer to that is a difficult one. You know, it depends on the amount of males that we have around us. In my experience and my time here in the Sabi Sands, the amount of males has been quite a lot, and they've come in fairly regularly. We've had them in pretty much every sort of year or every 18 months. There's been a new coalition that's started to arrive here in the Sabi Sands. And so I think it depends on the coalitions around us. It depends on the aging of the males that are dominant in this area. So if we've got very old males that start to wear down and these new younger guys can come in, or just depends on the cubs that are produced in other prides and in the surrounding areas. So there's no real time span and there's no real estimate as to when a new coalition will arrive. But in my experience and in the time that I've spent here in the Sabi Sands, we've looked at it sort of every 18 months. There's been some sort of new faces that has ended up showing themselves here in this part of the northeastern Sabi Sands. And the cubs seem quite restless still. They're still up and down all over the show. Not too many games being played at the moment, but they are moving a lot and looking around and just checking about what's going on. Like I say, I'm sure they're quite intrigued as to why Mom has moved them. It could be that they are planning on carrying on and moving off later when it gets a little bit cooler. And there's a very nice tambuti thicket that's just behind the cubs. As we go out there, you'll have a little look at that. And that would be a great place to hide cubs in the evening if the females were to go off to hunt. And so that's possibly where these females are taking these little ones, is just to put them into this little thicket before carrying on and going to go see what's out there. Oh, listen to that little squeaking. Oh, look at that. Isn't that amazing? We've got paws, we've got hugs, we've got little bites. It's very, very cute at this age. So Mark would like to know if all 8 of the cubs are here. Mark, to be honest, I only see currently 7, but I think all 8 are here. I have not counted them yet. I've been so blown away by actually seeing them that I haven't had a chance to even count them. But I would imagine that all 8 are here. I will definitely keep an eye out and see how many there are. Currently, as I can see 7. But I don't see the 8th one, which might be tucked up somewhere here behind one of the mothers. But yeah, there are 4 in front of me and 3 that are behind, busy suckling from the mother. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but in the background the little ones are complaining quite bitterly, fighting over milk. So Kitty Bang Bang would like to know how old do these cubs need to be before they will start to practice the art of phlegm and grimace. Now Kitty, just for future reference, the spelling of phlegm is F-L-E-H-E-M. There we go, my English teacher would be very impressed with me. Not that I was very good at English, but I think she'll be quite proud. Now, that is an interesting one. Generally, these cubs have no interest in any sort of social communication, so they will not be too worried about the urine of any other lion. So generally it's when they become territorial. So males, you normally start to see them start to phlegm and grimace around 3.5 to 4 years old, when they start to break away from the pride. Whereas the females, I've actually seen quite young females that are 18 months starting to grimace and to smell the urine as the mothers do it. And it's almost a way of copying the mothers. I don't think they really understand the whole process yet, but they just sniff around and do what mom does. And even the young males to a degree do that. But when it becomes really pertinent and the time that they're really doing it for a purpose is generally when they become an adult. So that's normally at around 3 years old. There's another lioness that's just come back. I'm just busy looking over our shoulders here. I'm just going to watch her and see. Maybe she's going to go towards the male. I think she's just also looking for a little bit of shade there. It is absolutely incredible just to be in amongst these lions. They are by far my favorite pride in this area. They are absolutely beautiful females. The Birminghams have really come of age lately, and they are looking fantastic as well. And so to sit here amongst them and to have lions surrounding us in all directions is the most amazing way to spend a Sunday afternoon. I can't tell you how amazing it is. Here comes another lioness. So this is the youngest female within the pride. She's yet to produce her first litter of cubs, but from what I've been hearing, she has been tempting the males somewhat, and so hopefully she will be producing soon. Oh, listen to that little one calling. Alright guys, so while we sit here with these lions for a little bit longer and listen to the squeaks and squawks of these little babies and watch them play around with their mothers, we're going to go back towards James, who is sitting with a large pachyderm.
We have not managed to find Sandila, everybody, but we have managed to find a Sunday herd of elephants. They're having a good time tossing mud on themselves, a bit of sand. Pop-whoosh, there we go. That's really nice to see. They're sitting here at Red Dam, where I thought maybe young Sindalai may have come to have a bit of a drink, but he has not. But that doesn't matter. We're having a lovely time here with him. Not him, with them. Isn't that nice? Oh, look, Brian. The usual story. Anyway, they're doing this, of course, just to make... I think they like the feeling on their skin. Apparently it's supposed to do something for parasites. I'm not convinced that that's a major reason for it. But it's quite sweet to watch. And there are quite a few of them here, you know. 3 in that little group, 1 coming out the drainage line, and another tiny little one off to the left hand side, which we can't actually see. Did you hear that, everyone? That was a very impressive fanfare produced by an elephant making flatulence. So I'm glad we managed to find something, aren't you, Brian?
I am.
It was starting to get a bit dire, wasn't it? Yes. Oh, look at the little thing sitting down now in the mud. And too lazy to actually get up. He's just throwing sand on himself from there. It's ridiculous. Wonderful to see. There's a little one there now, probably only about 18 months old or so, running after Mum. That is so cool. And he's going off with his parents. Well, not his parents, his mother. And they're all just going up to the top there. It's great fun, and I mean, it's so amazing because they're so agile for such big animals. You would struggle to climb out of this drainage line. It's really not, it's very steep-sided. So steep-sided that, I mean, you can't actually drive into it. But the elephants are able to climb out of it, which is amazing. Alright, let's go back to the lions, see what they're doing. We'll try and stay with these elephants. Just before you go, sorry, over here, look at the amazing flowers on this beautiful knobthorn tree. The smell they're giving off is just heavenly. See you later.
Welcome back, guys. I believe James has been on the flower hunt and is busy smelling the knobthorns. And yes, they are heavenly, James, I agree with you. Very, very pleasant smell. You can imagine if you're a hungry giraffe, how much more pleasant that smells like, or even a bee for that matter. Now, since you guys have left us, a couple of the cubs have been with the male. They were having a little sniff around and have now got bored of the male, who seems to not be too interested in them, and are wandering off towards a tree. So let's have a look here. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a game. We're going to scratch our claws. That's all just helping to sharpen those little claws up and make them incredibly needle-like. So as when they go and play with mom or each other, they will do more damage. Oh, hello. We've just jumped up. That's amazing. And who says lions can't climb? But yeah, it's a very, very poor attempt at a climb. I hope James didn't look like that while he was climbing. But yes, with practice, maybe things will get better. Here we go, round 2. Ooh. No, not quite energetic enough for round 2. I think it's better just to bite the tree. When you can't climb it, bite it. Fair enough. There's quite a few trees taking a bit of a pounding. In the background, there's another one that's also jumping all over a branch, and unfortunately that branch is not big enough to sustain its weight, so it's bending quite heavily. But yes, they are having quite a game, and it's getting to that time of the day now where it's really cooled down quite a bit. We've got a nice little bit of a breeze going, and I think the cubs are taking this opportunity to have a good game. I'm sure they were very, very tired during the day and have rested quite nicely, and so now it's time to run around and expend all that excess energy from sleeping. So look out, moms, and look out, dad. I'm pretty sure there's going to be lots of naughty little ones running around, biting and playing and jumping and squeaking. It should be quite entertaining, actually. In the meantime, the male over here is, as we come back, we'll have a look now at him, is battling a fly war. I don't know if you've noticed, he's got quite a few sort of old scrapes and scars around his face, which are all inflicted by his brothers and coalition members. But those little things will attract flies, as well as the moisture that comes from his eyes and around his muzzle area. And those little flies will be landing on him and driving him absolutely crazy. Now, anybody who's been in an area with lots of flies will know it is quite an irritation when flies are landing all over your face. And so he is fighting the war valiantly, but I fear he is losing quite heavily at this stage. There are still many little insects buzzing around his ears and eyes there. Oh, a little fight is breaking out over some milk over there. I'm just going to go forward so you guys can see them. Now, this will be quite common amongst little lion cubs, even though they are very, very friendly with one another and bond and will play and really look after one another when they become pride members and coalition mates. When it comes to food, and particularly mother's milk, there is big wars that go on, and you'll often hear lots of fighting and scrapping over the milk. There we go, you can hear there's one that's trying to get in there, it's going to force its way. It's trying to push its way. Oh, and we've just flopped down. Look at that, they're fighting over that. Oh, Mom is very unhappy there. I think she's had enough. She's now grabbed that naughty little cub and is telling it, that's enough from you, youngster. You behave yourself. So Kitty Kitty Bang Bang would like to know, do little cubs go to their mother first for milk? In my experience, no, they don't. Sometimes they will try their luck and they will go towards another female. I've seen it with the Styx cubs quite regularly. The older cubs are going towards the little ones, a mother, and they actually outmuscle the little ones and push them away and end up stealing from those little ones. But generally, yes. I think when the mothers arrive back from hunting, they will call and each little cub will go running straight to its mom. Ultimately, it wants the affection from mom, and it knows that that will be a guaranteed source of milk. I've seen a lot of the females, when it's not their cub, they will actually chase those little cubs away and allow their cubs to suckle first. And once their little cubs have gone, oh, look at that little one carrying a ball of elephant dung there. So yes, once they've their little cubs have suckled, the older ones then come in. Oh, there are games everywhere at the moment. There's one biting a leaf of a tree, two of them are attacking balls of elephant dung, and there is one now on its way to try and investigate what's going on here and to wonder, why am I not part of all of this? And here it comes, and let's see which way it's going to go. Is it going to be food or play? This is a question I find myself asking multiple times in one day. Here we go. And we approach with caution. Sum up the options. Well, food has been declined quite heavily there. I think too much competition at the table there. And tree it is, I think. Or maybe just lie down. And there we're going to lie down. Good option, I think. There's lots of competition around the other playstations there. There's the tree that's being used heavily, and Mom, who's looks like a ball of cubs at this stage with a leg protruding from it. Multiple little ones all suckling there. She's even opened her leg a little bit to make space for all of them and allow them all to have a good access to her teats. So James Richard would like to know what cat species, big cat species, I like spending the most amount of time with. Well, James, I am a spotted fan. So I am a leopard fan. I love to spend my time with leopards. In fact, the more time the better with them. While it is very difficult not to enjoy time spent with a pride of lions like this, with these beautiful little cubs, I find that lions are often very sleepy and can be a little bit on the downside, or boring side, should I say, at times, and especially when it's hot. But yeah, leopard is just for me the most exquisite animal, and I love spending time with them. They're always getting up to different things. They've got such a varied diet that you never quite know what's going to happen with them. So I love spending time with them more than anything else. Oh, Look at that little one with the mouth full of elephant dung there. I don't know if you can see it. It is very, very, very chuffed with its elephant dung. That is its own little meal, and it is going to protect that from everybody. Oh, that is mine, definitely. That is the cutest little thing. Oopsie, we've dropped it. Little sniff of the air. I would imagine, yes, it will be quite stinky once you've been chewing on some elephant dung. Listen to the ruckus going on there at Mom's feeding station. Lots of noise. I'm afraid no rest for Mother this afternoon. It sounds like an Sunday afternoon at my house. There was lots of games being played, and unfortunately Mom and Dad didn't get much time to sleep when I was a youngster. It seems like that's the same way here. There's now another one that's grabbed another ball of elephant dung. Listen to that. Ooh. Mom is not happy. Enough of that now, children. You've ruined the moment. There's been too much biting, too much complaining, and Mom has had enough. So she is now going to turn herself around, show some teeth to those little ones, and that is enough of a sign to them to tell them to behave, as anybody needs. And I tell you what, if I was a little cub and I saw a mouth like that of teeth, I think I would pull my socks up quite quickly and behave myself as well. But it is amazing how energetic these little ones are. If we had to spend time with just the lionesses and the male and there were no cubs around here, I would imagine that it would have been a lot more of a quiet affair. In fact, I think we would have had 5 quite sleepy lions. But as it stands, we've got the cubs, and they are proving to be very entertaining this afternoon. I am so happy that we managed to find them and to spend some time with them. They are incredibly cute and absolute little bundles of joy, I must be honest. Just like I said to you earlier, this is the first time that I've actually spent time with them, and my goodness, are they amazing little creatures. I love these little guys already. They are great. So X-Ranger would like to know, has asked, that size is a difficult thing to judge, and how big are these little cubs? Well, that is a difficult thing. We're going to have to put it into perspective. I don't know where X-Ranger is from and what we can use as a measurement tool, but I would say in terms of height-wise, they're probably currently standing at about 20 centimeters, 25 centimeters tall at the shoulder, and are probably no longer than half a meter from head to the tip of to the base of the tail. I think if we add the tail in, we might be a little bit longer than that. But that is about the size that they're at, of the older ones. The smaller ones are even smaller than that. They are not standing too tall at the moment. I would say probably about 15 to 20 centimeters off the ground, and are still probably only about just over a ruler length. For those of you that went to school and had 30 centimeter rulers, about a ruler length long. So they are still quite small, and when you see them up against Mom and with the adult male, and the parents are standing up, you really get a true sense of how small they actually are. And you can watch that one as it carries off a ball of dung. It had to do a little bit of 4x4ing over the other ball. It's just to show you how small they actually are. And if you look at the size of the elephant ball there, that is a piece of dung, and so it's not very large in the grand scheme of things, but yet that cub is almost the same size as it. So they are still tiny. Oh, look at that. Tell you what, you don't want to be a tree around this lot. They are a group of lumberjacks. They have chewed and bitten most of those leaves off that tree. We've had branches being broken off, and now we're fighting with each other. This is quite a handful going on here. You can see Mom just watches with that attitude of, well, there's not much I can do about this. I'm just going to have to sit and wait it out, and hopefully they'll grow out of this phase fairly quickly. Well, I'm sorry to say, Mom, that this is not going to happen. They will be like this for a while. So Doodles has made an observation that as a mom she would have closed up shop a while ago, especially with those sharp little teeth, and I, being a man, can't really offer too much comment on that. I haven't had children, and so I wouldn't know, but in my little bit of time that I have spent with kids and with the children of other parents, I would imagine that would be the case. I've seen quite a few moms getting quite frustrated with their little offsprings, and I would imagine it would be the case, yes. Can you imagine those little teeth sinking into you all over the place, not to mention the sharp little claws, which I'm sure these little babies have no control over at this stage. They are just using everything and anything they want. Every time I see them on a little bowl of elephant dung, all claws are out, and so I'm sure mom gets it every now and then in the neck and on the back, and ears are being bitten, whiskers are being pulled. So yes, I think it's a very difficult job to be a mother. You can imagine it's probably no wonder why they end up going out in the afternoons or evenings, should I say, and going hunting. It's probably more a bit of a break than anything else. But yes, to all those moms out there, even the ones from us as people, great job, and keep up the good work. It's a tireless job, I know. If you were anything like I was as a kid, I'm pretty sure you have your hands full. So keep up the good work, and hopefully your little ones will not end up biting you like these ones do. But this is just the most amazing sighting. Look at them, they are just playing, and there is rubbing, there is biting, there is rolling. It is just all happening in the little ball of cubs that is there. And to answer the earlier question, as it currently stands, I can see all 8 of the cubs. So they are all here, all 8 of them. There's 7 in the big ball there, and 1 to the right that is about to come into frame, and there it comes. It is joined up with everybody else, so all 8 are accounted for, which is great news. While these hooligans carry on with their shenanigans and playing and bouncing around and biting and carrying on, we're going to go back to James and see what he's been up to for the last little bit.
We're sitting here with a hippopotamus, everybody, in Red Dam. We were last here, of course, well, you were last here not too long ago with the elephants. They've moved off into the woodland, and there is the hippopotamus. He's extremely camera shy, isn't he, Brian?
Yes.
Yes, look, he's listening, but he doesn't want to show you his eyes and his nose. He's a little bit like a small child who thinks that if he can't see you, you can't see him. Oh, there we are. Hello. He's got a bit of whiskery nature around his nose. And look at his nostrils there, they point directly upwards. That's a really clever thing to do if you happen to be aquatic. Much like, of course, the nostril on a whale on the back of the head. Hello Melanie, good question from you about elephants and hippo and how they interact with each other, and you say recently you've seen some aggression at the Djuma Dam from some of the elephants towards hippo that come down there, and do they ever fight, and how common is aggression between them? Or how vulnerable are the hippo during the drought season? The answer is they don't fight. Hippo will not try and fight with an elephant. An elephant is too big and it really wouldn't stand a chance. But elephants don't like things taking water when they want to drink. I've seen elephants chase off buffalo and kudu and nyala from a waterhole. They don't like to share particularly, and if there's a hippo lying in the water soiling it with his dung, they're going to be that much more upset by his presence. So that's why you've seen that aggression. But you're absolutely correct that as they go into the drought season, absolutely a hippo is going to be very, very vulnerable, because of course there is so little water around that pieces of water like this, which are really sort of suboptimal habitat, are going to be filled with young bulls like this who are trying to find a way in the world, and they've been tossed out of the territories in the major perennial rivers. And they do become much more vulnerable, and certainly there are parts of the Kruger where there aren't dams like this that hippo have actually started to die as a result of this drought. That's okay. Well, it's not okay if you're a hippo, I suppose. It's very unpleasant. But it is, from a big picture ecological point of view, it's not a bad thing. Ooh, a big wind coming up now from the northwest. Yurra. Fine, we may be blown clean off this damn wall. Good heavens.
Heavens indeed.
I wonder if it is just a brief squall. Seems to be.
Oh, it's gone now.
Phew. We survived. It's very brave of us. Okay, let's carry on. While we're being brave, let's just ride our luck. I haven't had any other updates on Arethusa, so we're just going to do a little sort of lurk down the eastern fringes of Arethusa, sorry, and then we'll head back towards Nkuhuma. Bye, Mr. Hippopotamus. May you have a wonderful springtime. Good, as you were. Oh, and while you were gone, sorry, Brian, I'm going to ask you to stick the camera back into this knobthorn tree. You'll notice that it's not only honey or sort of creamed honey coloured flowers that there are there. There are bright green beautiful leaves, the first leaves of the new season. And if I were a giraffe, I would be standing under this tree. Well, I'd have to be an enormous giraffe, I suppose. If I was a giraffe as tall as Brian, I'd be standing under this tree trying to get at those new shoots.
Delicious.
Lovely. On we go. Sorry, Heidi, I missed your communication there. Can we go with that again, please, Weesey? Oh, Heidi, you want to know if there are already spring flowers? There's a chin spot buttis up there, in amongst the spring flowers.
I don't see it.
It is difficult to see. It's on the far there. Got him there. I think he's a little... Have you got him? I think he's up from there, Brian. Heidi, these are the first flowers. They're in the knobthorn tree. You can see them there. And there he is, down a bit. He's right on the edge. That's him. That's the male chin spot batis. It's a bit of an alarm call, which is quite interesting. I wonder if Sindali is not around here. So Heidi, those are the first spring flowers and the only ones that I've seen so far. Well, that's not actually true. There were some in the guarri bushes, the Natal guarri bushes flushed at the beginning of August. Very subtle, though, they were. But that noise that they're making is a slight alarm call. That sort of chip, 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 chip. Alright, we're going to continue down exploring here in Arethusa. I haven't been here for a while. Let's go back to Tristan and the Nkuhuma Pride.
Welcome back, guys. So while we were sitting here watching these little cubs, out of the corner of our eye popped out this little chap. Now this is a little striped skink, and it is on a fallen over tree here, and it is risking its life at this stage. I don't think I would want to be a little lizard with 8 playful lions around. Now we've lost visual of it now. It's gone behind the tree, but we'll keep an eye out on it. It's been scuttling around in the fallen over tree over here, and luckily for it, none of the cubs have really noticed. They've been too busy playing, like they were when you guys left us. But what I was hoping was that it would make a little bit of a noise, which might attract the attention of these 8 mischievous cubs, and that would have been quite a game to try and fish a lizard out of all of these little bits of broken bark and trees. But as it stands, the lizard is safe, and so lizard 1, lions none at this stage. Oh, lots of grooming going on now, lots of bonding, biting. Isn't that just beautiful? That is the most amazing sighting. I've got the one that's got its arms around the other one. Look at that, there's their paw and the head. There's been one that is being attacked from all sides at this stage. It's got its feet on it. It's being licked by two others. Oh, hello. Payback time. Isn't that just the most sweetest thing you've seen? Amazing. So Scott would like to know if skink is another word for a lizard. No, well it is, I suppose, it is a lizard, but it is a species of lizard. So its name is a skink. It's part of the reptile family. But yes, we do not refer to it as a lizard, but a skink. And they are fairly common here in Africa. We find them all over the place, and in environments like this where there's lots of fallen over trees that the elephants have pushed over provide the perfect place for a lizard to hide. You know, as the bark separates from the tree, little nooks and crannies develop, and so this little lizard can hide away in those little crooks and little barky sections, as well as find little insects inside there. So it is the perfect place for a lizard, or in this case a skink. I'm sure he's still scuttling around there somewhere. I haven't seen him again, but somewhere in there we'll find it. Oh, finally Mom's getting a chance to rest. Everything's gone a little bit quieter. The cubs aren't squeaking anymore, and so Mom has now decided it's time for a little bit of shut-eye, and a Sunday afternoon nap does look like a fantastic idea, doesn't it? She looks very fast asleep there. Nice comfy pose too. Oh, that didn't last long. Unfortunately, we've been woken up again. So Nicole from Canada has just asked us, she's noticed that on elephants she has two mammary glands between her front legs, whereas the cats will have multiple, four actually, closer towards the back legs. And she wonders, is that because elephants only have a single offspring at a time, and it's because lions have multiple ones that they are further down? Yes, I would imagine so. That is the case. You know, you can imagine, as you saw just now, there was a absolute sort of jostling for position there amongst them. Now, if there was only two teats located between the front legs, it would be very difficult for these little cubs to suckle. And so being lower down towards the abdomen area between the legs and having four of them allows them to be able to suckle, and for all of the little ones to get a chance to feed. Obviously there will still be competition, but at the end of the day there will be a chance to feed for all of them. Oh, look at that. We've had a full-on tackle and we're now biting. That is amazing. So Tucker, who's 4 years old, welcome Tucker. I'm so glad that you could join us here in Africa on this live safari. And Tucker says that he doesn't play with his sister like this at all, and that he is enjoying these cubs so much. Well, Tucker, I can tell you that your sister is a very lucky girl. When I was growing up, my brother, who is older than me, constantly would assume his dominance over me, and I was treated with quite a lot of rough behavior. So you are a very kind brother to your sister, and I'm sure she'll be very appreciative of it later in life. But yes, these cubs are incredibly enjoyable, aren't they? It's amazing just to sit here and watch them, and they're always up to something. That's the best thing about them, is that they never really settle for too long. There's constantly little games being played, there's biting, there's scratching. Oh, it's getting quite serious there now. There we go, the whole tree is shaking. We've woken up all the adults. And oh, hello. So these games from time to time do get a bit out of control. It's like any roughhousing games. Is like I was saying, when I was a youngster with my brother, we used to roughhouse a little bit, and it would get out of control from time to time, and somebody inevitably ends up getting hurt. And when that happens, you know, one will generally get up and go away and sulk off in the distance, or go and seek the comfort of Mom, and maybe just tell Mom a little tale in her ear there of how her naughty sibling has been biting her. And Mom is now going to let her suckle, which is quite nice. Mom obviously felt very sorry for that little one and is now giving it a treat. Can't see her there, unfortunately. She's disappeared. There's a little back of the legs as she nestles down for a good feed. Oh, and here comes the naughty one, coming back in again. I think she is going to try and find her own nipple. I hope so. I hope she doesn't push the other one off. But no, there we go. We've settled in nicely as well. No more dispute. Happy children, happy mom. Excellent. So David would like to know at what age these hunts will join in on a hunt. Now, again, it is a variable time frame. I've seen cubs as young as 8 months being involved in a hunt, but it was purely opportunistic. In terms of a planned hunting situation, generally it's only when they reach about 2 years that they really contribute in any way. Prior to that, they're still very inexperienced, lots of exuberance, as you can see with these little cubs. They don't sit still for 1 minute. And so you can imagine on a hunting situation where the lionesses have to wait or the lions have to wait for long periods of time and stalk and calculate, that these exuberant little ones often end up blowing the hunt. And so generally they only really start to contribute from about 2 years and onwards. And their success rate really only becomes very good from about 3.5. So lots of practice that goes on between then, and that's why these little games that you see and the wrestling and carrying on of these little cubs is so important, because while it looks like fun and it is fun, they are also learning as to how their body works and how they're able to move their legs and control everything, and to be able to stalk and pounce and to be able to work out how they can get away with catching one another without being seen. So all vitally important. You can see how that cub just came up now with one paw. Often when they're taking down an animal, they'll use that paw to flick and to try and trip an animal up, and so it's all part of learning. But yes, at around 3 years old, typically would see them hunting. While we sit with these guys for a little bit longer, we're just going to see now that the sun is going down a little bit and it's starting to get a little bit cooler. I'm hoping that the females might start to get a little bit active again. They've all sort of gone down, but I'm hoping as it gets a little bit cooler that they are going to. But we're going to link back to James and see what updates he's got for us. I hope by now he's managed to find some sort of sign of Sindile. I don't know where he is at the moment, but hopefully.
Now everybody, I haven't found Sindile, nor have I found Shadow, nor Tingana, nor Karula. The latter three I have not found because they are not here. They are on Little Gari, all three of them together. Now that is unfortunate, because I was rather hoping one of them would be here, but they are not. So now we are looking at the back end of a virtual zebra, which doesn't really want to say hello to us, does it, Brian?
No.
It's not very kind at all of it.
Just rude, really.
It's so wooed. He is grazing, obviously. Now, what I wanted to show you while Brian's looking there, we were told a little while back, I was asked a question about this mystery zebra called the Grant's zebra. Now, the Grant's zebra is found in East Africa, so I've been looking at the Grant's zebra without even knowing about it. This particular one is the southern zebra, I suppose you'd call it, or the Birchall zebra. But the Grant's zebra is the same species. It's just a slightly different shape. It's got a more Roman nose, and I'll show you here. And I didn't know this until, well, a few days ago. There's the Grant's zebra, and there's the Birchall zebra. Now you can see the Birchall zebra thicker of neck, the very obvious shadow stripes there, those are those sort of dotty bits there, the brown stripes in between the black and white. And if we go up towards the Grant's zebra there, you can see a much more rounded nose, and I definitely noticed that when I was there. Much more rounded, sort of Roman nose, if you like, and very little in the way of shadow striping. You can see that. There we are, Brian. That's very clever of you. Then the other thing, of course, is that they're striped all the way down to the foot. Looks like a sort of pile of potatoes there. What do you call those things?
Potato chips.
Yes, potato chips, exactly. Anyway, that's the difference between the two. And Sabrina, you're wondering about wild horses. Now, before Brian goes away from this book, I'm going to show you one African wild horse-ish type thing called an African wild ass. There it is. Now, I am a bit of a horseman myself, Sabrina, and you know, when you're a judge of horse flesh, when you see something that looks like that, your first thought is not, what a brilliantly attractive animal, it's more, what a donkey. And so we don't actually have anything other, or any other sort of wild equids other than the zebras and the African wild ass. There are, however, quite a number of feral wild horses in Namibia, and they've gone completely wild, and they have quite an interesting story that begins with their sort of exclusion after, I think it was the First World War, if I'm not mistaken, when Germany was tossed out of Namibia. I think it was the First War. They were tossed out of Namibia, and the army couldn't take their horses with them, so they just released them into the desert, assuming that they would die, and they've now produced a fairly large herd that roams all around the deserts or the sub-desert areas of Namibia. So that's quite nice. But otherwise no wild horses in Africa, because the horse, of course, if I'm not mistaken, comes, where was it first domesticated? I think it was domesticated probably around Mongolia, where you still find the Przewalski's horse, which is the last remaining wild horse in the world. Now we're just going to get out of the way here so that these fellows can come past us. Can you say Przewalski's horse, Brian?
Przewalski's horse.
Very nice, well done. We'll just wave friendlily at these people. Hello, good afternoon. How's it going? Good. Now the good thing about them, Brian, of course, is that they were all in matching khaki, which means that they will be invisible to any of the animals that they come across. Yes. Now, our next port of call is going to be the Arathusa Dam, which is just down here. And I don't think there's any water in it. I'm always thoroughly amused by matching khaki outfits on the back of a safari vehicle, as if the smell of diesel, petrol fumes, steering fluid, oil and all of that could possibly be mitigated by the wearing of some green coloured clothing, like I've got on, for example. I'm tremendously camouflaged at the moment. Right, let's go across to the Arathusa waterhole. What? Oh, I didn't hear that. Ah, yes. Now, very good point here being made by Louise in the final control, and that is that I'm not nearly as camouflaged as Geraldine was yesterday in her giraffe onesie. I'd love to know where she got that. I also think that I would very much like to borrow it for game drive one day, so maybe she will lend it to me and I can wear a giraffe onesie on game drive. The most amusing part of wearing a giraffe onesie, Geraldine thinks that's a very good idea, and she got it from China apparently. Well, that's not unusual, but apparently the most amusing thing about it, of course, will be, well, not only your reactions, but mostly when driving past someone like that fellow who's taking his game drive very seriously. If he were to come across me in a giraffe onesie, I think he'd be rendered utterly speechless, to be honest. I think he'd just look once and just keep driving. Brian, I think we should get you a giraffe onesie as well, especially as you actually are as tall as a giraffe. Maybe I should get a dwarf mongoose onesie. Or a zebra onesie, that's a very good idea. Jerry, can we get a zebra onesie?
How about a crowned lapwing?
Or a crowned lapwing onesie? Jerry is so excited now, everybody, she can't contain herself at the thought of Brian and I going out on drive in a giraffe onesie and a zebra onesie. Ah, now we know we've come to the end of the water, when the harbinger of doom is at the water's edge. Do you see him there, Brian? Oh. No, left. And up. And left. No, and left again. There. Just keep going along there. Oh, look at him. South Africa's ugliest bird. The marabou stork. We will get a bit close, everybody. I just wanted to warn you that the harbinger of the drought is at the water. Now what he's doing, I'm obviously being ridiculously overdramatic on the Sunday afternoon. What he's doing is eating the rotting carcasses of the catfish that are no longer able to swim because the mud has now dried. Some of them would be under the mud now, in their sort of safe, slimy cocoons from which they will emerge when the water comes again, but many of them will be in the gullet of that there bird. Let's go and take a look. I think you can get a marabou stork onesie with a traffic cone as the beak. Hello, Monique in London. You say, have I seen any kingfishers today? I haven't. And you say you've just taken a walk along the river. I'd love to know which river that was. I suppose it must be the Thames. Hey, it's not pronounced like that, is it, Brian? No, the Thames. I imagine it must have been the Thames or a tributary thereof. Oh, the River Mole. I don't know where the River Mole is. It sounds very Wind in the Willows-ish. And you say you saw 3 kingfishers there. One of them took off and relieved itself on taking off, and you immediately thought of me. Thank you, I think. That sounds wonderful. I must say, there's something, it's interesting, when I go to somewhere like Britain or to Europe, the gentleness of the wilderness is always apparent, and it's I think a lot of people underrate or certainly underestimate the healing effect of a wilderness like that, where you're not looking over your shoulder for something that might come and knock you over at any stage. And the sort of wind in the willows type of wilderness, which is great as well. Now, you can we just quickly pan down over this mud bath from which there is no escape for the fish, and the hippopotamus has gone. Look at that, everybody. I've never seen it like that in all my 18 months that I've been here. Louise, I'm afraid the comms are absolutely horrendous here. I can't hear you. There is a blacksmith lapwing, and there's also an impala, and there are 2 impalas. Alrighty, we're going to carry on from here. I think we're probably going to head back towards Juma now. Not much going on in Arathusa this particular afternoon. Let's head back to the Lions with Tristan and find out what they're doing other than sleeping.
Welcome back, guys. Well, James, not many of them are sleeping, unfortunately. Moms are trying, and babies are being quite boisterous, and so not too much sleep going on this side of the reserve. But I believe you were talking about onesies. Now, James, I think I might be able to solve your little onesie problem. My other half, Ellie, who some of you may know from a drive she did a few weeks ago, has a zebra onesie, and being that James and Ellie are of similar height, I actually think James might fit into it. So what we will have to do is try and get James his little zebra onesie and make him do a drive in it. I think that's a very fine idea. If I had to be in a onesie myself, as sitting with these lions, I think I'm being quite inclined to go lion. Obviously the beard would be very mane-like, and so I would be lost in a lot of other animals. And these days, with all the lodge food, and well, I believe James is very excited about this zebra onesie. We definitely need to make this happen. Unfortunately, I'm going on leave for a few days, James, so when I get back, that will be time for you to don the onesie. It might be quite a warm experience, though, out here. I think I would advise you do it in the mornings. But yes, I think the zebra onesie on James might be a good idea. So while you guys were away, a couple of the little ones went up to that female over there that you guys are seeing and tried to have a suckle. There was quite a lot of growling and hissing, and at one point even a little firm push of the head by Mom to get out the way. She then stood up and they were all sitting in the shade begging for milk, and she absolutely did not tolerate that for 1 second, showed her teeth and used her head and barged all the little ones out the way, and then proceeded to lie promptly in the shade. And so since then, these two have been scrapping it out in the sunshine. But isn't it glorious with that golden light that is now hitting them? It is the most beautiful sighting, eh? Wow. We have been so spoilt this afternoon with these guys, and from what I've heard and what I've seen, you guys have been getting very spoilt with them for the last few weeks. It is the most incredible thing to be able to watch these little lion cubs develop and grow, and to watch their day-to-day antics is one of the most special things. And so all of you that are watching, I hope you will continue to join and to continue to watch Safari Live, and follow the process and follow the progress of these little ones as they go through their youthful age and start to become little adults. And hopefully one day in the future that we even see some of them making it to adulthood and having cubs of their own, or becoming big, strong coalitions that could potentially then move on into other areas. But that process would be the most incredible, amazing thing to watch. And for you guys to be able to witness that on a day-to-day basis is something that is incredibly, incredibly special. Being a guide and who's been out here for a very long time, I think it is one of probably the biggest rewards of being a guide, is to be able to sit and see the progress of animals and to be able to spend time with them in their natural environments as little babies like this, and watch them develop and their characters develop into these incredible adults that we see. If you think of the likes of Amber Eyes in the Nkuhuma Pride, then you've got the Queen Karula, and so all of these ladies were once this size, and the fact that you guys are here now and able to witness this and to watch this process is quite something. So Amber from Michigan would like to know if all 5 of the female cubs that are in the Nkuhuma Pride currently, if they all make it to adulthood, would those 5 join the other 5 adult females we currently have, or would they split into another pride of their own? Well, generally the case is that those 5 females will absorb into the pride and form a pride of their own, although in a pride that I've seen to the southwest of us, there was a case where the females have split away from the pride members and have formed their own breakaway pride. And so actually it's possible, but I would be quite surprised if these 5 did end up leaving the mothers. I'm pretty sure that they will be joined into the Nkuhuma Pride, and the pride will grow to 10. And can you imagine 10 adult females in one pride together? What a machine they will be, and how potent they could be at bringing down these large buffalo that they'd like to hunt. And can you imagine also if all 10 have cubs, it would be absolute chaos. They've got their hands full with just 8. Can you imagine 10 females with 4 cubs each? That would be absolute chaos. But here's to hoping and to seeing all 5 of them staying alive, firstly, to become adults, and then to be joining into the Nkuhuma Pride and becoming a serious force within the northern Sabi Sands. Oh, that little elephant ball has taken an absolute pounding today. These little guys have dragged that little ball all over the place. That poor piece of dung has lost multiple little limbs as it's gone along. Well, now we're just going to fight with each other over the top of it. Luckily, that little elephant ball of dung has no heartbeat, and so I'm sure it doesn't care at all of its situation and predicament currently. But it's amazing how little balls of dung can become the center of 8 lions' focus. Just look at that. Isn't that the most incredible thing? Now, if that is not cute, I don't know what is. Oh, we've got a claw stuck on the forehead, and off we go. Back to the ball we go. So you can see the biting there, the rolling. Oh, that is the cutest little cub. They are so fluffy. After seeing the little Styx cubs, it's actually quite scary to see how fluffy these guys are and how healthy they're looking in comparison. They are incredibly beautiful, but it also sheds a little bit of concern onto what the Styx look like. They're not looking fantastic these days. But luckily we are with these guys, and we are getting to be spoiled by the good looking gang of Juma. Just when we thought the fight was over, it carries on again. There's always that one sibling that is incredibly naughty and likes to jump all over the others and cause trouble, and I can guarantee that it'll be the same sibling that will run to mom when things get out of control. It's normally the case, and it's normally one of the younger siblings. I know this because I was like that at the early ages of a boy. I used to pisk and poke and prod my brother until I got a reaction, and then would run to mom with complaints of being beaten by my now thoroughly irritated brother. And I can imagine that this is very much the case amongst these guys. But look at that. That is just so sweet. Oh, I'm going to be up and mobile now. Oh, little sneeze. So I think probably rubbing up on one another. A little bit of fur has gotten up the nose there and has ended up causing this little one to have a little sneeze. Just look at those little faces. Wow. So we have a question from Shanae. Hello Shanae, welcome. Shanae is a guide very close by, and a lady that we guide with quite regularly. So she knows the Styx cubs quite well, and she wants to know, will the Nkuhumas pick up mange like the Styx have? Well, it is possible, given that the mange that the Styx got was spread by the Birmingham males. They were the ones that had it first. It then transferred onto the females and then across onto the cubs. So potentially, if these Birmingham boys go and spend time with these Styx females again and get reinfected and get a lot more of the mange on them, they could potentially pass it to one of the females if they mate here, and those females then rub up on the cubs, and it could potentially spread that way. As it stands currently, looking at these cubs and looking at the females, there doesn't seem to be any sign of mange developing on them. So I would imagine at this stage, no, we will not see any mange on them, and I hope that that stays the case. But yes, it is potentially possible, Shanae. So you can see an approaching vehicle is now the highlight of the afternoon. All of them are busy watching and checking around what's going on. Very interested in this large hunking piece of metal that is making its way through the brush so loudly. Obviously with animals, generally it's a very quiet process when they move around, but us humans in our vehicles tend to make quite a bit of noise. So that's always a little something to be interested in, particularly when you're a youngster and this is a very new situation to you. As an adult female, you can see in the background, she does not care one bit. Vehicles have become part and parcel of her daily life, but the little cubs are still very interested in this whole process and the movement of these vehicles. Oh, I've got a little itch on the side of the face there from the youngest. And now we're biting our own foot. Well, when nobody else wants to play, I suppose playing with one's foot is quite fun. So Sarah from Florida would like to know whether little baby lions have sharp teeth that they will lose and will then get their adult teeth. Yes, Sarah, they do. They have small little teeth that will grow, and slowly but surely those will grow out and new ones will come through that are a lot bigger and stronger and will be able to cope with the crunching of bone and meat as they go through life. At the moment, these are all little milk teeth and they are still very sharp and pointy, but yes, they will become larger and bigger as time goes. So even the little cubs, you saw how some of them scattered quickly behind mom. Just shows you how, even though they are so relaxed and they are wandering around playing, that there's still this very sort of clever instinct that when something gets close and they're not sure, to run to mom and hide behind mother. At the end of the day, mom is going to protect them more than anything else, and so it's a very clever strategy to stay alive, and one that they're going to need in time, especially when they start to venture towards carcasses like buffalo kills and you get hyenas approaching. The instinct to run to where the nearest female is or to their mother is going to be a very good one that's going to keep them alive in the long run. So they need to be very aware of that and need to be able to keep doing it through these adolescent years. Oh, threat is over and now it's back to playtime again. So Timmerlin would like to know, is a breakaway of female lions from a pride because there is a lack of food that the pride is being able to catch because of the numbers? Yes, that can be the case sometimes. When you get very large prides, I've seen prides in the eastern parts of Kruger National Park that are 40 lions together. And when there's 40 lions, you can imagine things like zebra and wildebeest don't go very far. And so what they end up doing is having to break apart so that the prides can find enough food for one another. The prides that I was referring to earlier in terms of them moving and breaking apart was actually more to do with males. A new coalition of males arrived, and that female, she basically took these little cubs away and she raised them by herself. Oh, hello. We've got a bit of movement from the male. Welcome. And maybe he's not to be outdone by the cubs, is going to put up on a little performance of his own. So a little bit of scratching there. This male is actually one of the males that had the mange. I don't know if you guys can see on his belly there. There's a little bit of lack of fur there. And so he was one of them that had it quite badly. It's recovered very, very well. It seems to have grown a bit of fur there, and it's looking a lot better. So hopefully he's not still carrying too many of those little mites. Also, his contact with the cubs is so little that hopefully there's not going to be too much transference of those mites onto them. But that does look like an epic scratch. Look at that face. That is a face of pure enjoyment. He has got his back leg busy scraping along his belly, and whatever was itching is obviously been relieved very nicely by doing so. And we're going to turn around and lick our tail. Right, so much the same process as what we saw with the females and the cubs earlier. When they tend to get up and get moving, there's often a lot of grooming that goes on, and that's all just to get rid of any loose fur or parasites like I was talking about earlier that may have gotten onto them during the time that they've been lying down. Also, if there's any old wounds or wounds that are leaking, that they can clean those up, but generally it's just to keep the body in good condition. But it's amazing how supple he is for such a big animal. Now, imagine trying to turn your head around towards your backside. It won't be an easy process. I'm sure there are some yoga people out there that may be able to do it, but for me, I don't think that would be possible. So, well done, sir. You are doing a fine job at keeping yourself clean. Obviously, practicing quite often. Now, I'm hoping that once he's finished his grooming process that he might take a wander closer towards the females and the cubs, and that we get a little bit of interaction between them. Obviously, like I say, there's not too much going on with the male. So Dingo is asking me, she says that from where she's sitting, that this Birmingham boy is not very big. Well, yes, he is still a youngish male, and there might be a little bit of room for growth, but not very much. He's pretty much at his biggest. His mane might get a lot thicker, but I can tell you from sitting not even 10 feet away that he is a large cat. He is quite a big boy. He's not the biggest male lion I've seen, but he is definitely not small, and he is quite intimidating. He's got these beautiful eyes when he looks at you, and while he might not be the biggest lion out there, the fact that he's got 3 other brothers allows him to be quite dominant in this area. And so he is not the smallest of lions that I've ever seen either. But yes, he's not the biggest either. What he is, though, is a very happy lion right now. It looks like he's just enjoying the coolness of the afternoon. It's like I said, the temperature has dropped quite nicely, and there's this beautiful breeze blowing that is very cool, particularly if you're sitting in the shade like he is. He's going to be very, very happy with life. But let's just see where he goes. So while this Birmingham continues to alleviate these itches and to get rid of whatever is troubling him, we're going to go back to James and see what updates he's got. Oh, hang on, let's just see where he goes to here. Busy sniffing around. Maybe we'll even get him sniffing one of the bushes around here and give us a phlegm and grimace that we were talking about earlier. Oh, that skink might be in trouble now. Luckily it's a male and he's not too interested in skinks. And the skink has made a hasty retreat anyway from earlier. But let's see where he goes. The cubs are very interested too as to where this male is off to. You see them kind of skulking behind there, watching this male. What is this hulking, great, hairy animal doing? And all he is doing is going to another spot to lie down. So while he lies down and we carry on looking and seeing what these guys are up to, I'm pretty sure at this time of the day, like I said, that they're going to start getting up, and the fact that the male is up is a good sign. We're going to cross back to James and just get an update for now, and hopefully when you get back maybe the lions will be up and mobile and we can show you a little bit more.
Cordon bleu. That is a blue waxbill, everybody, and in East Africa, where I spent, well, the better part of 3 days last week, they are known as the cordon bleu. And there are a number of different kinds of cordon bleu that you can get there, Brian. And the great advantage of having a bird that is called a cordon bleu is that you're able to say,
Cordon bleu.
exactly. And this is a wonderful flock of little cordon bleu. They're all trying to find the last bits of seed there in the seed bed. Oh wow, look at that, isn't that beautiful? What a very special cordon bleu sighting, Brian. Look, even their beaks are slightly bleu. See that? Mostly black, but a little bit bleu. That's the female we're looking at there, and the male is a lot more bleu than the female. The female is very pale bleu. The male, a bit bleuer. And as, you know what, as with the the lilac-breasted roller, you see how the back end, there, that's a male there. You see how the back end is camouflaged, so if they want to turn, if they feel afraid, they can turn away and kind of hunker down into the leaf litter and become almost invisible. I got stuck between knuckle and hunker there. And became nunker, which of course isn't really a word, is it, Brian? No. There's Mrs. Cordon Bleu and Mr. Cordon Bleu. Mr. is bigger, isn't he? He's a larger fellow than she. And all birds, basically, at this time of the year will eat whatever they can find. So they'll eat ants if they can find them on the ground there. They'll eat termites if they can find them. But as I've said before, there are quite a lot of grass seeds underneath the surface of the soil, and if you know where to look, and a cordon bleu does know where to look, you can find some seeds to eat. But I think they're probably, because they're underneath the bushes there as opposed to out in the open, I think you'll probably find that they're looking for ants. I think this is the most spectacular sighting, everyone. I really love this. And as you say, Kathy, that blue is really exquisite. Now, I'm no artiste, and I don't know. I would just describe that as light blue. I'm cobalt. Is it cobalt? Thank you, Brian. Brian reckons a little bit lighter than cobalt.
Bordering on turquoise.
Bird bordering on turquoise. Yes. Just a little flash of colour. I suppose it's much like that little flash of green there. It is so much more impressive when it's surrounded by the greys and browns. I don't know, I find this absolutely fascinating. What are they eating? That's a seed. He is picking up grass seeds, you know. And that first, you picked up the aum of something called a 3-awn. There, that's another one. It's an Aristida grass species. The awn, that's the sort of long bit there, isn't the seed. The seed hangs underneath the awn. He looks like he's had quite a lot to eat, doesn't he, Brian? A very good Sunday lunch, as that cordon bleu had. Oh, too much apple crumble for you, chum. Yep, definitely just eating the seeds. And the accuracy with which that little conical-shaped bill grabs the seeds and dehusks them in a couple of little bites and then swallows the nutritious, oily seed within is amazing. Hello, Run Far Away Billy Blues. That's a quite astounding name. You say, how come some of them have got red on their cheeks? They don't here, but there is one called a red-cheeked cordon bleu that is found in East Africa. And you see that, Brian? There is the red-cheeked cordon bleu, and we don't get them here. I'll just show you a picture of the bird. That's a really nice question. So that's the red cheek. The male's got the red cheek. So he is absolutely designated by his red beak, but at least his red cheek. But you can also see they've got red bills. They're not quite the same as these ones, but that's his distribution. So that's absolutely useless if you don't know what we're looking at here. That's Tanzania there, Kenya at the top, Lake Victoria there. There we are. You don't need to worry about that. Now, I think ours is the southern cordon bleu. There it is there, otherwise known as the blue waxbill. And you can see male just slightly more bleu than female. Only found in Tanzania and down here. So that's just a map of East Africa. This is the East African Bird app. And you see how dismissive I was there of my technology.
So dismissive.
Yeah, so dismissive. Right, on we go. Things are taking a slightly bizarre streak. Now, Helen, you see, this is a very good question from you, and I don't know the answer, in the same way that I don't know the answer, and I have yet to hear anything satisfactory about why it is that birds of male and female should be the same color and should be brightly colored. You say, is it a sexual selection characteristic? My immediate thought is no, it isn't. It is, as far as the sunbirds go, because the female is drab, the male is not. The most obvious example of that being a peacock. I don't understand it with the cordon bleu. I don't understand it with the lilac-breasted roller, any of the roller species. I don't understand it with all of the bee-eater species, which are very brightly colored, both male and female. And I've yet to hear an explanation for what evolutionary adaptation that can, or what evolutionary advantage both male and female being that color could possibly confer. I've read one or two sort of ridiculous theories, many of which are much like the theories that are put forward for why zebras have stripes. Most of them you'd have to be fairly well oiled to believe. Ooh, a great number of dwarf mingoose. You see them there, Brian? Yes. just in front of the aerial there. That's a lovely kind of metronomic feature we have on the vehicle. And the fork-tailed drongo, whose forked tail is not a sexual selection characteristic. For example, that forked tail is purely there because it's very effective when it spreads. It's a highly effective rudder. They're amazing birds, as you know. They're very common, they're very aggressive, and they're very fun to watch. Isn't that nice? And his beautiful red eye. The second bird we've seen with the Shiraz red eye today. The other one being the shikra, who's building a nest on Zay's Road not too far from here. Right, you've had enough of the tiniest little carnivore that we have here. Let us go across to the largest, and by that I don't mean Tristan, I do mean the Nkuhuma pride.
Well, thank you, James. That is very kind. I think that Brent might have something else to say about that, given that he is constantly poking fun at me about my weight gain over the last year of being in a lodge. So, yes, I might just be eating more than the carnivores at this stage. So not much has changed really. The cubs are still playing. Lots of sticks have been picked up. Lots of sticks have been paraded around in front of one another, almost as a gesture of my stick is bigger than your stick. This little chap that's just joined now has been one of the most active. He's been all over the place and has been causing a little bit of chaos. But you can see that the activity in the cubs has not waned through the day. Unfortunately, the females are still really fast asleep at this stage. Not too much activity from them, and the male is exactly where we left him when you guys were last with us, which is right over there. Still fast asleep. So still not too much in the way of activity yet. The sun is peaking just on the edge of the horizon now. Dave, you might have seen it as Dave went past there just now, and it's starting to get to that beautiful time, and so I really am still hoping that these females are going to decide to possibly make a move. Like I was saying earlier, it is a lot cooler now, and with this little breeze, maybe the scent of some animal drifts in the wind onto us here. It is coming from our north at the moment, and so hopefully there'll be a scent of maybe a buffalo or something that might spark a little bit of action, or the fact that they're just going to go and look for some water. Obviously on hot days like this, it's quite pertinent for these little cubs and mothers to get fluids, particularly the moms. They're producing a lot of milk, as we've seen with these little guys suckling all afternoon, and so water is a huge part of it. Gregory, I am so glad that we can form part of your bucket list. I think for many people out there, safari is on the bucket list, and while it is amazing to be able to come out here in person, for you guys to be sitting here and joining us live and having this interactive experience is something absolutely phenomenal. I was saying earlier that I really can't get my mind around it. The fact that we are broadcasting all over the world and people like yourselves are able to watch this is just absolutely amazing. So, I'm glad that you're with us. I hope you're enjoying it. It's been a beautiful afternoon with these lions, and I hope for one day that you will be able to achieve your bucket list and come to Africa on your own accord and come and see these animals in real life. But for now, we are happy to have you with us and hope that you will stay with us going forward and continue to watch as this pride develops, as well as all the other exciting things that we get to see on a day-to-day basis. That is just the most beautiful little cub. Still got the little spots on the head. Oh, what do we have there? A stick by the looks of it again. which is being moved around by the cub in the background who's playing with the stick. So we have lines on each end of the stick at this stage, and another bundle of them over there, which are still having a fantastic little game. I wish I had the energy of these little guys. They seem to never stop. They just go and go and go and go. I would imagine that's because they're getting a lot of nutritious milk from these females at the moment, and so energy abounds, and also youthful exuberance. They've not yet learnt to store their energy, and the fact that they're not hunting would also typically signify that they can spend a lot of energy playing. The females tend to sleep like that just to conserve what energy they do have, so when they are hunting, which obviously requires huge amounts of energy when they are sprinting and chasing and wrestling with animals, and so that's why they tend to conserve. And the cubs don't have that problem, so they can expend their energy in the forms of games. And like I say, that poor little stick has got a line on each end of it. I would not like to be that little stick right now. My stick. We are now going to have a war over the stick. And there we go. As you can see, there's no respect for personal space here when it comes to the stick game. Stick game means that everybody gets involved and we all pull. And whoever is strongest and biggest should win this game. And, oh, lost grip there. Oh, there's a tail emerging. Look at that. All very, very interested in the goings on as the vehicles reposition themselves. The stick has been forgotten about for now. Look at those little eyes. Oh, isn't that a most precious moment? They've just kind of locked onto one another, and oh, now I've got the one by the cheek. Look at that. Isn't that incredible, guys? No, you will not bite me. Stay away. Now, many a rugby player would be quite proud of that handoff. In rugby, there's a maneuver which men will use is to try and push the opponent away using their hand, and that was quite a successful one, I would say. Don't you just love how even when they are not really focused on the game, that they still push their paws into the faces and end up So X-Ranger would like to know if the questions we receive on Safari Live are very different to that of a game drive. No, they are not actually. They're pretty much the same questions that we would get. I think the thing is here is that a lot of you are very knowledgeable about the pride structure and the animals that you're seeing on a daily basis, for those of you who are regular viewers. But yes, the questions are very similar to what we see on, or what we get on a day-to-day basis from regular guests. There's really no difference. I think everybody is curious and everybody has the same kind of thoughts about animals, and so very, very similar. And isn't that just the most amazing thing? We're on our back, legs all in the air, stick in the mouth. That is just pure heaven. Blissful moment right there. Okay. So we're just going to move forward slightly. One of the other vehicles is going to just come in behind us here. Just going to roll forward a little bit. So Misty would like to know how many litters a lioness can have in her lifetime. Well, Misty, it's also a very difficult question to answer because it will all depend on the successfulness of her cubs. If she's raises a litter successfully, then generally she won't be breeding for about 2 years. Should she lose her cubs, she will come into her estrous cycle within a few weeks, sometimes even 2 or 3, and will be mating again. And so she can produce quite a few litters in her lifetime, particularly if she's not a very successful mother. But generally they will start to breed from about 3.5 to 4 years old, with their first litter normally around 4. And then, like I say, it depends on the amount of male coalitions that we get through the area and the amount of fatalities that she has within the litters she produces. So I hope that answers your question. Oh, we've got very, very, very brave francolins that have just joined the fray. I don't know if you see them at the back there. I'm not sure if I was a francolin I would go walking into a pride of 5 female lions and 8 cubs. We have some cubs that have awoken. The females are not interested, but there is one cub just to the left there that is beginning to stalk these little francolins. Look, there they go, after the francolins. Yes, anything that moves is always a game, so this should be fun. The francolins are making a hasty retreat. They are busy running away. There they go. Oh, there's the little cubs. The francolins have gone towards a big drainage line, and there they come. Here we go. Now you can see, even at little cubs, the instinct to chase and to move after moving things is there. Now it's all probably more game than anything else at this stage. I don't think they're really hunting, but the instinct to chase moving objects has already started at such a young age. It seems like the francolins have disappeared into a little deep gully that's full of prickly, spiny trees, and so I think that cub has thought better of it and has just stopped on the bank there. But that was quite interesting. And like I say, a very brave set of francolins. The rest of the cubs were not too perturbed by it. I think the fact that the francolins made a hasty retreat ended any chance of all 8 of them participating in that one. Alright, so Haley would like to know what is one of my best sightings I've ever experienced. Well, Haley, I can tell you that I've been fortunate enough to see many, many, many interesting things in my life. But since we are sitting with lions, I think one of my favorite sightings that I've ever had was when I spent some time with a lioness in the south of the Sabi Sands. She has a name. She is called Floppy Ear. Now, Floppy Ear is a very, very special lioness. She often spends a lot of time on her own. She tends to protect her pride incredibly well by distracting males. Even when she's not an estrus, she used to take them away from the pride and protect the little cubs. And so when I was working down at Lion Sands in the southern part of the Sabi Sands, I got to know this female very well. And as with all things, my time with them started to come to an end, and I decided I was going to move on. And in my last game drive, we had seen this floppy ear female for the previous weeks, and she had been looking like she was pregnant, but not heavily. And so I thought my chance had gone to see her cubs that I had really been hoping to find before I left. And on the last morning, she was called in with the pride. Now, they were all sleeping, and it didn't really seem like much of a sighting at that stage. But as I got to the sighting, she decided to stand up and started to move. She started moving very quickly. There were some vultures circling to the north of her, and she was constantly looking up at these vultures, and she started to really stride. And I was actually with one of the WildEarth viewers, Michael Moss. I hope he's watching. But if he isn't, he was with me at the time, and he was actually about to leave that morning. And so we were pressed for time, but we decided we'll just risk breakfast and we'll just carry on with this lioness in the hope that she might be going somewhere. We had noticed that when she started walking that it looked like there was a few little suckle marks there, so there was this hope that maybe she's going to take us to the cubs. And so we followed her for about 45 minutes as she weaved through the thickets, and eventually she got onto a road and she started to head more and more to the areas that she used to have her cubs. And the excitement grew as we went, and soon she cut off the road into this little thicket, and we followed her through this thicket. And as we got to the other side of this thicket in a little clearing, there was this little round section of rocks, and she started to call. And as she started to call, the most tiny little lion cub appeared through these boulders. It was so small that its eyes weren't even open yet, and we estimated that it was probably anywhere between 4 and 7 days old, which is incredibly small. The mother then went up, she picked the little cub up and moved it, and then lay down and began to suckle. It was the most spectacular sighting that I have ever had in terms of a mother and a cub interaction. And like I say, since we're with the cubs and the lions, I thought that would be an excellent one to refer to. But yes, think any time spent with little animals is always a highlight for me. And like I say, there's been a number of other very, very interesting sightings. I've had some great sightings of rare animals, things like pangolins and aardvarks. But in terms of a memorable sighting, I think that is probably one of the most memorable I'll ever have. And the likelihood of me achieving that again is probably not going to be very high. To follow a lion to a den and to see a cub of that age is incredibly special. I was very, very trusting of the lioness to take me towards her den after 4 days or 5 days of having that little cub. Was an incredibly, incredibly special moment. Well, there goes one cub with a big ball of dung again. Alright guys, but while we still wait for these lionesses to do something and keep these cubs with us and how they're entertaining us, we're going to go back to James and see what update he's got for us.
Well, you won't believe it, everybody. We found another hippopotamus. Such is our unspeakable skill. Isn't it amazing, Brian, how skillful we are?
So skillful.
So skillful. A hippopotamus, everyone, about which we were asked earlier regarding elephants and their conflict. This chap lives in this pan, and he certainly was tossed out yesterday by the elephants. Came down to drink. I don't think there's been a huge amount of elephant activity here today, and so he is resting quite comfortably there. On his back there is an injury, possibly brought on by his exposure to the sun and feeding from the trough formed by that injury, an oxpecker having his Sunday dinner. Hippo blood.
Delicious.
Yes, I'm not sure I'd like to eat it, but I mean, I suppose if you're an oxpecker, that is your want. Then there's also a really lovely little gathering of the birds of peace, humble birds there, the doves, the ring-necked doves, most of them, come down to have a drink on a Sunday afternoon. Not sure why I need to say Sunday afternoon in that North Country accent, but you know, it's just the way it is. Ring-necked doves all drinking away. Now, the ring-necked dove, humble as it might be, is actually astonishingly fast off the mark. They're very quick to fly off, and they have to be, because in some parts of Africa, especially in Namibia, they come down in huge numbers, and parts of the drier parts of Botswana. They'll come down this time of the night, and they'll all drink together. And lurking in the bushes or high in the sky will be a lanner or peregrine falcon. And those falcons, as you know, dive at an astonishing speed, about 220 kilometers an hour, if I'm not mistaken. That's about 140, 150 miles an hour they hurtle out of the sky. And these doves have to be able to get up into the air and to top speed within seconds when the falcon starts to come out of the sky. And they manage to do that amazingly successfully. So humble as they might be and numerous as they may be, their numerousness or commonness, the fact that there are lots of them. The fact that there are lots of them is a testament to the fact that they are very speedy and very effective at staying out of harm's way. Is it commonness, Brian? What is the word I was looking for?
Commonness?
Yes, the noun from the word common. Common. I don't know either, Brian. Abundance would have been a better word. Hello, Benjamin. You want to know when the migratory species of bird come back? Benjamin, they come back at 11:30 on the 8th of September, all of them. I'm obviously being completely facetious, Benjamin. They come back in drips and drabs from about now. So we've just had the Wahlberg's eagle back. That's normally the first. We've seen 2 or 3 of them. They were the first ones. The woodland kingfisher, which is our favorite, or one of our favorite migrants, the harbinger of the summer, come back as late as November. This last year, 16th of November, they came back. And in between that time, we'll get all the bee-eaters back. Some of the other kingfishers will come, the steppe eagle, the lesser spotted eagle, the redback shrike, the willow warbler, and various other birds like that will come back over that interval. So between now and kind of November time is when they'll all come back. I don't know if any bird will actually arrive at 11:30 on the 8th of September, but it is possible. And you say, I mustn't lie, I haven't budged the whole afternoon, it's the same hippo. And I would say that was a fairly good guess, but for the fact that when I asked Brian to zoom out, you will see that we are in fact in a different situation. You see, we're at the Juma Dam Cam now, we're not at Red Dam anymore. Thank you, Anne, for casting aspersions on my character. I shall not forgive you for that. Alright everyone, that is going to be it from us live on the vehicle. We're going to make our way to the fireside, and while we do that, we're going to hand you over to the veteran of the Sabi Sand, Mr. Tristan Dix, and find out how he and the lions are going.
Well, thank you, James. I'm not sure what to take from this. I've been called a youngster and now I'm a veteran. So I'm a little bit confused, but James and I will sort that out later. Like I say, we'll have a little discussion. But as you guys can see on your monitors there is the most spectacular colors illuminating the sky at the moment. The sunsets mixed with the dust from the drought that we've been having, as well as some fires in the far east outside of the reserve, have caused these colors to really come alive. It is absolutely beautiful. And as we come out there, you can see the deep blues are starting, and slowly but surely the night is starting to set in. And look at that, isn't that the most beautiful sight? That accompanied by what is lying beneath that sun, which is these beautiful lions. They are still at the games and still chomping away at sticks. They are still chomping at the sticks and still busy chewing and carrying on, but they are still at the games. Still no movement from the females at this stage, nor the male. Everybody is very, very fast asleep at this stage. So I don't know if we're going to get too much in the way of activity from them, but these cubs have been absolutely priceless this afternoon. Their games and their shenanigans have kept us all entertained the whole afternoon, and it has been an absolute privilege to spend time with them. There's one cub now that has just got complete access to Mom. Oh, hello, Mom. As we speak, maybe she is going to sit up for us. No, back to sleep we go. So there's one little cub that's trying to get some milk. She is now on the third nipple. She has tried two others and nothing has come from those two. So she is now trying her third one. I think we have success. She seems to have latched on and is quite happy with that one there. And is now just repositioning herself and getting ready to have a good long suckle. Oh, Mom's tail is now being attacked. I don't think this game is going to last long at all. There we go. I thought not. Mom is not very fond of the tail being pulled. And so that game came to an abrupt halt. And I think if my tail was being pulled too, I would also be quite upset with life. Now the little growls and grunts of the younger ones playing has attracted the attention of two of the others who were busy feeding from their mother. They've now started to come in and stalking along slowly. Let's see if they get involved here as well. But look at this little one with the stick, eh? See how it's positioned it and moved around. Oh, it's amazing how even the ones with the sticks and with the little bits of elephant dung become so fascinated by the others. And it's almost a case of, no matter what I have, it can't be as good as what you have. And they will go bounding over and tend to go and try and steal it from one another. For now, everyone seems to be okay about it, but it does often happen where the little cubs will chase one another around and try and steal each other's sticks, even if there's a perfectly good stick lying not even a centimetre away from them. And there we go, case in point right there. Look at that. there's a little rough and tumble, been pushed over. So James would like to know, he's asking, these lions tend to be suckling quite extensively, so they are going to the mother fairly frequently and they are suckling quite a lot, and he would like to know what is the frequency that cubs normally suckle at, and how much milk they will consume, and whether or not the female has enough milk to feed the cubs all the time. The answer to that, James, is that these females, being healthy adults that are getting a lot of food, means that they are producing quite a lot of milk. How much milk they are producing is pretty difficult to say. It's obviously dependent on how much each one of them drinks. Sometimes some of them don't drink too much at all. They just suckle for a little bit, and then they actually just sit there taking a break as they digest the milk that they've taken in. And so it will depend on the amount of food she gets, the amount of water she has available, which will dictate how much milk she is producing for the little ones. Now, we've seen these guys suckle quite a lot this afternoon, as you stated, and the reason is that probably during the hot part of the day, these little cubs didn't actually feed too much. So it was too hot. The females were probably quite irritated at that stage, and so after the initial feeding from this morning, when the cubs would have had a good feed around sunrise, I would imagine that there's been a lot of sleeping. And so this is now just because it's getting cooler, the cubs are going to have their next feed for the day, and so generally they actually don't suckle that much. We've just been very fortunate that we've watched multiple bouts of suckling this afternoon. A lot of the other lions that I've seen, sometimes they'll just suckle once for the afternoon and that will be the end of it until the following day. But these guys have been lucky. Mom has been very tolerant and produced quite a bit of milk for them this afternoon. Look at that. So we've got the cub on the mom's face, the paws are in the air. Isn't that just spectacular? The viewers that like to get screen grabs, that is an incredible one to get. The paws giving a nice indication of the size of the little cub, as well as the affectionate behavior of being wrapped up in mom's arms. And look at that, we've got a little hug going on. Oh, we're biting mom's paw. That's naughty. We've ruined the nice picture. And mom is now rolled over. The other one that was suckling is not impressed, but no matter, we'll just climb over mom and start drinking again. But isn't that spectacular, eh? We are so fortunate just to be able to watch this and see these mothers interacting. Oh, jungle gym. Look at that. So Dark Knight would like to know how often these lionesses hunt. Now, Dark Knight, that is a very, very good question, and it is one, again, that can be quite relative to the area. So obviously it will be quite dependent on the amount of food that they come across, and also being the fact that they are opportunistic cats, they typically will take any opportunity that they can get. But if we had to average out the amount of days that they will end up hunting, it would probably be about every 2 to 3 days that they will hunt. Sometimes it can be more than that. And in conditions like now, where we're having this drought and a lot of the animals are suffering and are weak in state, the lions will be taking advantage of that. And so in all likelihood, we'll probably be hunting almost every day at this stage, particularly with a pride like this, where you've got 5 adult females and these little cubs like we were talking about that are taking a lot of nutrition through suckling. They will end up having to require quite a lot of food. So I'd imagine that they would be typically hunting most nights at the moment, and if the males are with them, even more so. Right now though, it doesn't look like any hunting is going on, as females are fast asleep at this stage and are really not too interested in doing too much. But I am sure there's plenty of time for that. The nights are still long, as we are still kind of easing our way out of winter, and so there will be plenty of time in the darkness when the lions really come into their own with their excellent night vision, as well as that camouflage that you can imagine at night becomes very difficult to see them. And so I'm sure later tonight there will be a little bit of movement from these guys, and let's hope that they are successful during the evening. It would be quite nice to find them tomorrow morning on some sort of a carcass. But I would imagine that before any hunting takes place, due to the, like I was saying to you, the amount of heat that we've had today, I'm pretty sure these lionesses are going to make their way to the pan in front of Djuma. So those who are on the Djuma pan cam, keep a lookout for these guys tonight. I'm pretty sure they're going to rock up there. It's not too far away, and they might go for a little drink before carrying on their nightly patrol. So all of you that are up and awake and are busy on the cam, look out for them. Bit of competition over food there. But yeah, it looks like everybody is still quite settled at this stage. The cubs are obviously still playing and having their little game. There's a little group on the right hand side of the female that's having a little bit of fun there. Unfortunately, it's a little bit behind the tree, so we can't see too much. But yes, they are busy pulling at one another. Look at that. One is being dragged by its neck by a smaller cub. I don't think that is going to last very long. I'm pretty sure that bigger cub, if it has to stand up, will send the smaller one running. There we go. Let's see if there's a bit of backlash on this one. Oh, that is a very brave little cub tackling the older sibling. Oh, look at that. Let me just go forward a little bit for you so you can see. I should be able to roll forward. Almost there. And the little one is now moved off, unfortunately. There we go, look at that. Oh, and Mom's tail is now the source of entertainment again. This again is not going to end well, I don't think. Look, it is being shaken and pulled like it's a part of a carcass. And because the tail moves, it's far more entertaining than anything else. It obviously is attached to something, so there's a little bit of tension when it pulls. Also the fact that it's fluffy and soft and it moves. Look at that. You can see the little one is like, I'm going to get that tail. There's no chance that that tail is getting away from me. Oopsie, wait, a bush is in the way first. Amazing. What a tolerant mother as well. Sure, she didn't even growl that time. Now look at this little one. Oh, what have we found there? The little one's busy playing with a pile of leaves under the guarri bush, which, like I say, has had a bit of a torrid time this afternoon. Unfortunately, it's been the source of much entertainment for many of these little ones. There's been lots of biting on that little stump that you see on the right side of the screen, and lots of leaves, as you can see, lying on the ground that have been pulled off and have been chewed on. And so the poor guarri tree has lost a few more leaves during this drought. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? It's got to be one of the cutest sights. A little lion cub playing with leaves. I'm quite surprised because those leaves, which are from the guarri, tend to be quite tanninous, and so they tend to be very bitter in taste. That's why we see a lot of those green leaves. You can imagine in the drought that all the antelope species are looking for green leaves as much as possible, yet these are still quite prominent, and that's because they are very bitter. And so I'm quite surprised that this little cub has been chewing on them and hasn't really found them to be distasteful, although now we've turned our attention back to the stick again. But isn't that just the sweetest, sweetest little face? Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. You can see the stick is actually wet from all the saliva from them playing with it. It's been absolutely bombarded by lions. In fact, I don't think the stick has had a moment to itself today. It has been absolutely chomped on and played with and moved about all over the place, so much so that it is now drenched. It's almost like a mongoose when they have their little territorial disputes. Alright guys, and so as we say goodbye to these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lionesses, I'm just going to say thank you very much for all of you that watched today, and for having me on the show. It's been an absolutely incredible experience. I've loved every minute of it, and to be able to spend time with these cubs has been absolutely spectacular. And so from me and from Dave, I'd just like to say thank you to all of you, and hopefully see you guys again. And we'll be linking across to the fireside chat, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening with Jamie and James at the fireside.